All right, guys, I had a question on my last video. It was about training your posts at practice. You'll see that I'm coaching Dad and Chuck through small error in their top roll, in their posting top roll during the match. So their setup and all that was good, but it was the execution of it, more specifically, when they would get their post and get the position, they would go sideways too quickly and end up attacking their own wrist. And I was coaching them to go back and to keep going back and rotating so that you don't start attacking your own wrist. But the question more specifically was, can somebody simply hammer curl straight back and execute the same move? They've been told that's the wrong way to do that. Well, I would say it's subjective, and people talk about back pressure all the time. Well, I mean, really, back pressure in the general sense is anything that comes this way. Anything that comes this way of the table can be considered back pressure. So, but he said specifically hammer curl. If you're pulling another top roller, like in the video, it's not the best pressure, right? Because top rolling is all about height and wrist riser a lot of times, because the best way to beat a low hand is a better high hand. And the difference in the high hand and the low hand is height and wrist riser. So for me personally, I like to use a ton of riser in my top roll, especially versus another top roll, because it's all about height. So for example, if I'm pulling another top roller and he's using a ton of riser and all I'm doing is hammer curling, because there's a difference. This is a hammer curl motion. This is a rising motion. Now we train them very similar, but in reality, when I'm using riser, I'm gonna go under the table to an extent. I can stand right here and do all the hammer curl I want. And you're not gonna move nearly as much weight normally standing here trying to hammer curl versus here. And we'll get into the difference in training later. But, so the main reason, like I said, against another top roller is if I'm just back pressured and he's rising, I'm giving him all the height. And as soon as I go to lat with that hammer curl, I'm gonna lose height. And most likely start losing my riser, my wrist riser, which as soon as that fails against another posting top roll, it's a wrap. You may as well come in and try to win this way or foul and get a restart. So in that situation, it's not the best. Not to say you can't win like that, but most likely if you won like that, you were gonna win anyway. But riser is the most effective when pulling another top roller. So if you're pulling a hooker, it's a little bit different. You're still gonna lose that height, but most of the time he'll be underneath. And if he's on top, you're screwed anyway. And even when he's underneath, a lot of times they'll be coming down or in. So they're getting closer to their position, whereas you're probably gonna open up a little bit. And that's all right, you can still win from there. But back pressure, hammer curling pressure would be more effective there than versus another top roller. So, and I see a ton of guys doing this training for back pressure now, where they basically, some of them put it around their wrist, some of them put it around their arm, their hand. Most of the time they put it in a pronation style, which is almost useless for this particular motion. You'll see them going and they lat. While that falls under back pressure, it's almost useless in a top roll. I've tried to, I guess if you're getting caught and this guy's diving in and you're pulling him back, sure, you do that move with another top roller and your hand's gonna get eat up. He's gonna turn you over. And I see Mike doing this. Love Mike, he does a bunch of impressive lifts, but I don't really necessarily agree with calling this one a back pressure, what does he call it? Back pressure pronation lift. Because there's no pronation pressure here. I think he comes actually through the wrist. So to say this is a pronation, there's no pronation pressure that's attacking you in that position. If you want pronation pressure, I need pressure coming from this angle, or I need to turn so I can work that. That's pronation. So be careful on how you train that too. If you're gonna train back pressure, like I said, that falls under it. But when we hear back pressure, we thinking top roll, hammer, riser, something to that nature. So if you really want to test your back pressure, get a straight across pulley. I prefer it down a little more than this, because the higher you go, the less it is on your wrist riser. This is why I'm a big believer in training this riser, because that's the key to your top roll. So I always put it in between the knuckles. And if you want to do hammer curl pressure, or rising pressure, you want to really test what you can do with back pressure in a top roll movement. Those two are the ones that's going to show you what you can and can't do. And I'm not opposed to like the lift Mike's been doing. I would argue it's more of a lat lift than anything. And it has about this much. In his specific move, it probably plays a huge role. I don't know about the pronation part or whatever, but being able to stop a hooker, especially down here, and pull him away from his arm, I get that. I get where its purpose is. For most people, like 90% of people, that's gonna be useless in their top roll, in my opinion. It's useless in my top roll. So, if you really want to see what you can do with a posting top roll pressure, you're going to have to do it the way I just showed you. The lifts off the ground are all right too. I think they're inconsistent. You can place your elbow this much different than you did the time before, and you can lift more or less. When you do it like this, it is very specific. Same thing every time. The only thing you really got to focus on and make sure it's consistent is where you're grabbing the handle, whether it's in the center of the table or here. Obviously I'm gonna do more weight here than I could here, but it's much more consistent and accurate to keep up with your numbers. So anyway, I'm rambling now. So y'all drop some comments. I'll make a video just like this, fleshing it out, giving you my opinion. So hope this helps you, buddy. Y'all like and subscribe. Roll Tide.